Welcome to the Power in Motion podcast, the show for women who want to develop a kinder relationship with their body so you can feel healthy, happy, and confident without restricting food, doing torturous exercise, or constantly worrying about the number on the scale. I'm your host, Kim Hagel, size-inclusive fitness specialist and certified non-diet health and life coach specializing in body image. This podcast is here to provide weight-neutral, health at every size aligned information and coaching on sustainable habits and mindset shifts so you can feel your very best in the body you have right now. Let's lace up our runners and go for a walk while we chat. Well, hello, and welcome to the Joyful Movement Show. I'm really excited about this episode because we're tackling an important question that often comes up when we start to rethink our relationship with movement, which is, how do you measure success or progress if you're moving in a non-diet way? Or you've started to realize that you want to move your body out of a place of self-care and not out of the perceived need to change your body. So then what does success even look like? Or should we be measuring anything? This can be a confusing, tricky spot to be in when we're learning to move this way. If you're new here, I'm Kim Hagel, personal trainer and registered holistic nutritionist, founder of Radiant Vitality Wellness, and I'm on a mission to help women get unstuck with movement, to find that motivation deep inside themselves, and to move not because they have to, but because it feels great. I know that often movement can feel like punishment, torture even, and I don't believe that's how it's supposed to be. If you've been around here for a while, you've been hearing me speak at length about how this thought system of using exercise as a way to punish or torture ourselves is contributing to keeping us stuck. It's not motivating to punish ourselves with exercise. Using exercise as a way to pay off or earn food with the sole purpose of keeping your body small kills all the joy in movement. And that's unfortunate because then we miss out on all the other amazing benefits that movement can bring, like more strength, better energy, improved stamina and mood, better sleep, and on it goes. I could talk all day about the benefits of movement. Also, if you've been hanging out for the last few episodes, you'll know I've been really speaking out about how we, being the fitness industry, perpetuate this kind of thinking by focusing primarily on weight, measurements, speed, reps, and other external metrics of success. And success I place in air quotes. And I don't speak about these things to shame the fitness industry. This is just how we've been taught to help people. But at the same time, we owe it to our clients to be evidence-based and to respond to the needs and struggles our clients face. And the fact is, the vast majority of clients struggle with motivation. We know that 50% of exercisers will quit their fitness program after 6 months and 80% within the first year. That indicates to me that we as professionals need to improve. If our goal as fitness professionals is to help people achieve a state of improved health and well-being, then we have to figure out a way to empower our clients to be consistent with movement by supporting them to build their intrinsic motivation. And that's that desire within you to participate in movement for the joy and good feelings that it brings. So that's why I talk about joyful movement, because when I look at the evidence, enjoying movement and doing it because of the good feelings it brings, as opposed to doing it because you have to lose weight or maintain weight, that's what studies prove time and again motivates people to keep going. And it's keeping going that gets you the gains. Consistency and steady effort are much more health promoting than little 6 weeks or 6 month stints every now and then. I changed my whole business and outlook on fitness and movement from focusing on weights, measurements, and metrics as a result of what I've learned to now teaching intuitive movement, this practice of tuning into your own body's cues and signals to guide your choices in movement. And I'm really happy to see that other trainers in the industry are starting to do the same thing. Our guest on the show today is another intuitive movement personal trainer. Like me, she saw how focusing only on external metrics was keeping her clients stuck on the start-stop cycle, struggling with motivation. Kasey Shuler is a personal trainer, an author, and a mom whose passion is to help go-getters walk by faith through prayer and joyful movement. She teaches her clients how to tap into their intuition to choose movement that feels nourishing and enjoyable, and helps them focus on their body's cues to determine what success and progress looks like. And she's also developed a continuing education course for Fit Pros to help them incorporate intuitive movement into their work. So this is a really great episode to listen to, whether you are a professional or someone who's just trying to improve your relationship with movement. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with Kasey. I get pretty lit up when I get to talk to another non-diet trainer. There's definitely lots of passion packed into this episode. Kasey shares her story of how and why she transitioned to an intuitive movement approach as a result of what she observed with her clients. We chatted about what happens to motivation when we focus only on external metrics. And we talked about a common question, which is, how do we set goals or measure success if we're not focusing on those things? What do we measure instead? Kasey shared some helpful tips to get you thinking about ways you can redefine success and where to place your focus in order to cultivate that intrinsic motivation and steady, consistent progress. I've linked to all of Kasey's resources in the show notes, including her course for Fit Pros. She's got resources to share for both professionals and followers, so I encourage you to check out her links and give her a follow for more non-diet fitness inspiration. Okay, so here's Kasey. Well, Kasey Shuler, I am so excited to welcome you to the Joyful Movement Show. As we said before we hit record here, it's always so exciting to talk to another personal trainer who operates from a non-diet perspective and practices intuitive movement. And I know that we could probably geek out on this subject all day long because we're super passionate, but we'll try to keep it concise and relevant to our audience. Anyway, I am just so excited to welcome you. So thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and I've really enjoyed listening to the podcast so far, so it's fun to be a part of it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for listening. I'm excited you're here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how it is that you became interested in intuitive movement?
Yes, of course. Well, I feel like I was born into the fitness industry because my mom was and still is personal trainer, fitness instructor. She's teaching water aerobics this summer at her neighborhood pool. So
Cool.
I've always loved fitness, and because it's associated with my family and with memories, we were always active on vacation. I became a fitness instructor in college. And it was that time when I became an official instructor myself that I realized that people were happy with me as an instructor if they were sore leaving class. And so then I started to realize what people liked and didn't like, which affected my job as well. And so I started to do harder workouts that left people sore, but then some people also left discouraged because it was hard for them. And then I was sore all the time. And so it was nice to feel your muscles, but it's not nice to feel debilitated. And so I started wondering, is it really worth feeling like this all the time? I mean, I wasn't doing it full time by any means, but doing 1 hour of workout and then feeling sore for days on end affects most of your life. And then I became a personal trainer, worked with corporate wellness. And I worked with 2 different companies. One was Starbucks, and then one was another company, and just like very different populations, leadership styles. My role was primarily to get people to come in and work out, and some people just wanted to work. They wanted to go home because working out sounded like work to them, which, for me, it was like, well, working out is fun. And so I just started to realize, oh, these are really big barriers that and I say we because I'm a part of the fitness industry, is putting up barriers of like, this is what fitness is. You have to come into a gym to work out. You have to work out this many minutes, you have to be sweaty, sore, all of those things that I was fed as a trainer training people. And then I perpetuated in classes, in training, and realized that. And then I was a trainer at a gym that trained athletes. And I really realized that that wasn't my passion. I didn't want to train. I didn't necessarily have the passion to train athletes, but I started to cultivate a passion to bring in people who didn't like to work out and to be able to redefine, well, what really is fitness? Because nobody should be cut out of fitness, because fitness is just moving your body, and everybody has a body. And so how can we expand that definition? And so around that time, I started getting into intuitive eating and connecting with a dietitian who was similar in the faith-based realm that I was in. And so we connected, and I started reading and getting more into intuitive eating, and finding that um, I was eating more than I wanted to, and I'd have this guilt shame cycle, even though it was all healthy food. And then I would associate working out with calorie burn, and I didn't like that. And so I felt like it took the joy away. Um, from exercising. And so it was like, so once I started listening to my body for eating, I was like, well, how can I do this with movement more? I feel like I naturally knew how to do that because I loved exercising, but then I had to kind of relearn that, in a sense of separating movement from like calorie burn. Instead of it being a punishment, it could be a way to just have fun and enjoy life and take a break from the computer and, all these different things, and being able to realize that my clients were going through the same thing, and everyone had different motivations to move their body. And so being able to look at like, okay, well, what is the science behind that? And then be able to observe my clients. Well, how are they motivated in their life? Because fitness can look like, and so many different ways, because it's individual to each person.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you noticed so early on the perceived need to feel sore after a workout, that's a sign of success, I guess, that you've done it right in some way, shape, or form. Why do you think people see soreness as a sign of success?
Well, I love hearing like whenever people walk out of fitness class, and what do people say afterwards? And so I kind of notice, what do people say after I go to a fitness class with people? And it's like, oh, I really felt that I'm gonna be hurting so much tomorrow. And then you'll text each other the next day, and it's like, oh, I'm really feeling that workout. And so it becomes a memory and something that you did together, and you pushed through together, and we did this hard thing, and we were feeling it. And it's almost like this bond that you create with people, because you're going through this struggle together. And so there's that social connection part of it, but also being able to feel awake and alive in your body through the sensation of soreness. I think that can be a part of it. It can get to an unhealthy level because it can be debilitating. And also soreness translates to strength, because your muscle tissue is breaking down. And so it means that through, appropriate rest and recovery, that your muscles and your body can be built stronger. And I think that we're naturally inclined to improve, and strength is one of those things that we go by to say, oh, that we're getting better. And soreness can kind of be associated with that.
Yeah, you're right. It can be. And then it can also be the slippery slope where, like, as you say, you can overdo it. And then it can be a deterrent for those who are perhaps new to fitness, or have pre-existing injuries, or have maybe a more dysfunctional relationship with fitness, or a traumatic relationship with fitness. That perceived need to feel sore then can feel like a real deterrent, or feel really intimidating.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it's especially for someone who's new to fitness, it's like, well, this is uncomfortable, and they're listening to their body, and it's our body's like, I don't, stays away from pain, because your body wants to keep you alive. And so it's a very natural signal of, oh, I feel this doesn't feel good, I need to stop doing this. And so yeah, it can be an immediate deterrent. And so being able to lean into the intuitive part of, okay, what's happening here, what's happening to your body, is this, do you need to keep going, or do you need to stop and do something that just feels good, and you don't,
Mhm.
so soreness, I think, is just, it's one tiny part of fitness, but it's not a measurement of success.
Yeah. And speaking of measurement of success, that's what I really want to get into with you today, because we know as personal trainers who are educated under the traditional model that there are certain ways we look at measuring success, or we're taught to look at to measure success, right? Whether that's a weight on the scale or doing fitness assessments and certain tests, doing measurements. How do you feel that those traditional metrics and measurements were influencing your clients, like before you started practicing intuitive movement? How do you feel that those metrics were influencing their results and their motivation and their adherence?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of why I had clients was because people wanted to lose weight or get in shape, and it's because they were pursuing those things because that's either what they've learned through health culture, doctor's visit, something. And so it's like, well, I need to do this, and so I need someone to help me do this because I don't A, want to do this, or B, don't know how to do this on my own. And so that became my job as a personal trainer, as to lead people through those things. But I, through the 12 weeks of being together, by the end I would start to uncover the deeper motivations, and, oh, well, you don't really want to lose weight, or you don't really want to have this certain body shape. What you want is to feel confident in your body. And I, as a personal trainer, I'm going to be with them for a really short period of their life, when they're going to be with their body for their whole life. So why not help them strengthen that relationship with their body and their cues, and be able to dig a little bit deeper into, well, what is it that gives you life, and how can we draw that out, and how can you express that through movement? So it's not like this, I'm jumping to be this person that I want to be, versus I am moving as an overflow, as an expression of who I already am. And in that, the person can find rest and sustainable movement for their life, because they know that it can ebb and flow and change according to who they are, instead of someone that they're supposed to be.
Yeah, totally. Like it's all about connecting to your body and what makes you feel your best, right? What's behind that desire to lose weight? What are you actually trying to feel? And would you agree that when we just focus on the metrics and the number on the scale, that we tend to lose sight of all of those other amazing benefits and all those other great ways that exercise makes us feel good?
Oh yeah, for sure. And those are all, external metrics. And I feel like we're already so disconnected from
Mhm.
our bodies in the digital age, and we look at our phones for answers instead of talking to people now. I mean, I'm just saying this for myself, and like, what's the weather like? I'm gonna look at my phone instead of going outside and feeling the air on my skin. So it's like, okay, well, how can we use exercise instead of like looking at our apps or whatever it is, to like look at our heart rate? Oh, well, how does my heart feel now? How can I be more connected, and how can I bring it in? And I think that lessens anxiety too, of how should I be feeling? Am I
Mhm.
supposed to feel this sore? And it helps us be more in tune in the moment, which can prevent injuries, because we know how to scale it back, or how to progress. And if we know how to progress, then we can increase that joy, and we can follow something that we are excited about. And so, yeah, I think it's being able to bring it back and to return those bodies' natural cues, because
Mhm.
we have generations of wisdom built into our bodies that we were born with, and that we can learn how to trust. Because I think dieting culture hasn't been around for that long in the scope of humanity. So I think
Mhm.
we've learned how to survive, longer than that, and we don't necessarily have to rely on um, a measure of calories, or where a heart rate should be, or how sore we should be, or whatnot. And I think our body knows a lot more than we give ourselves credit for.
Mhm. I agree 100%. Um, what do you think happens to our relationship to movement and even to our body image when we focus solely on our heart rate and our calories burned and our weight and all of those external metrics?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've seen that, well, the numbers are, as far as statistics go, is that around 50% of people drop out of an exercise program within 6 months, 80% within 2 years. And
Mhm.
that, a really short time in our life. We live around, life expectancy is around 80 now. And so, and what that does to our body too, in the short term of that cycling of like, I'm going to go into this exercise program and then it's too hard. It doesn't fit my life anymore, whatever it is, drop out. That creates a toll on our bodies because our bodies are meant for homeostasis, is, coming back home and staying at a stable place, just like with blood sugar levels when we eat, to be able to keep those levels stable, our body wants to stay stable. And so when we're yo-yo exercising too, we can create weight gain because our body's trying to hold on to calories, through because we think we're going through a famine, like that's what it feels like to your body, and also creates mood swings because, exercise releases these wonderful neurochemicals and they stay in your system for around 48 hours and then they dissipate. And so, if we're releasing those and then not, and being sedentary because we can't live up to some certain expectation of exercise. And then we can also increase injury because, something that's supposedly high calorie burning usually involves jumping and lateral movements. And our bodies just might not be ready for that. That's why we have to have a warm up for every single movement. And I think the same thing is true for when we go into an exercise program. And I think that our body, like we can determine what that program looks like. And then also, yes, decrease motivation because it's something that you didn't choose, that you didn't decide to do. And I think as adults, we're like, well, I have autonomy and I want to be able to choose something. And that, when we're focused on ourselves, that's the more that you focus on yourself, the less you're going to stick with it. The more you self-objectify, the less you're going to stick with exercise. So because exercise is, I always think of exercise as being an outward extension. And so I picture like whenever you're moving your arms, you're moving them away from your body, and so when you're focusing on your body, you're like bringing that energy in, and that I feel like there's like a dead end there. Whereas like if you are moving the energy out, then you're connecting with the world, you're connecting with others, and that creates more energy. So, and I think that transfers into motivation too.
Yeah, 100% it does. I don't know. Do you teach your clients about the factors that influence motivation, being the enjoyment of the exercise, the feeling of success, having that sense of community, but then having weight goals or body goals is like the science shows that it's like the number one thing to kill your motivation. And I think it's interesting, or I'm glad you brought up those statistics about how many people discontinue their exercise program within 6 months or 2 years. And I really think that's why, right? Because we're focusing on some external validation that we're getting it right and not tapping into our feelings and what we actually want to get out of our movement sessions.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you think that then intuitive movement can help improve our motivation and our consistency and help change those statistics?
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, like with relationships, like it needs to be related to your life. So, something that I like to do, and a lot of this too is based off of James Clear. He has a book called Atomic Habits, and I really enjoy his picture of habit formation. You start as your identities, which is the smaller circle, and then you kind of work out from there. So like being able to invite the person to look into like, okay, well, like who are you? What kind of characteristics do you feel like define you? And then so like if someone would define themselves as responsible, then okay, well, then you like to take care of your body. How do you feel like you can take care of your body? And for them to be able to empower them to be able to make those decisions, being able to ask those questions of starting not just with the why you're doing this, but with the who are you? How can you express yourself through this season of life? Because seasons of life aren't defined by like 30-day programs or 90-day thing or whatever, because like if a woman gets pregnant, that's a 9-month season, and it doesn't always go along with the New Year's goals or whatever it might be. So being able to be realistic and okay, who are you, like what kind of person are you, And then how can movement flow from there? And then how can this movement support your season of life? Are you in a really busy season? So what kinds of movements would be good for you now and would support you, like give you more energy rather than less? Like, oh, maybe you don't need to be really sore. Maybe you need to be really active. And so let's do some things that increase your energy, you know. So as personal trainers, it's looking into, you know, the person, what fits them, and also what fits their season, and then being able to match those with the movement. So being able to match like those more meaningful motivators with the with the goals and the metrics and things like that.
Yeah, I love that. And that's like you can measure success after one workout if you're getting closer to having that desired feeling as opposed to just is the number on the scale changing.
Oh, for sure. Right. Because that's just so variable. Right. And yeah, be able to say, like, to be able to ask, how do you feel now? How do you want to feel at the end? I've started doing that more with my just fitness classes too, of like, oh, if there's a lot of people, you just shout it out at the same time. And then that way they can at least pinpoint how they're feeling and how they want to feel for themselves. And it's always different across the board too. Like some people are like, I feel tired. I want to feel awake. I feel stiff. I want to feel mobile. I feel like blah. I want to just feel like ready to go.
Yeah.
So, you know, we can't like pinpoint how we're, you know, someone's supposed to, even how someone's supposed to feel, you know, that is dependent on them. And it's so, and it's fun to see how, you know, differently we're created. And how movement also, it can, you know, it can even be the same movement, but it can make some, like one person feel different than the next.
Yeah. And it can change from day to day, even with that same person, right? Like your needs for your workout can vary. And it's amazing when we can tap into how we are feeling and how we want to feel and then tailor our movement to match that. To me, that's just so much more empowering than how many calories did I burn? What was my heart rate?
Right. Yeah. Because, and that's where I see a lot of discouragement happening is like, well, I went on this vacation, so I wasn't able to do what I was supposed to do to be on this plan, or I got injured and now like everything is down the hole, you know? And it's like, well, okay, what is your real motivation? Is it to be consistent? Okay. You can still be consistent by, you know, being able to do body, like mind body exercises. Like let's work on like your breathing connection, and let's work on like that pause, because when we're able to like pause within our movement session, or which translates to our life, then we can think about, am I really in line with my more meaningful goals right now, or am I just pushing past something, or am I, you know, going, or am I just used to what I've always done, and so that's what I'm doing. So it allows us to grow, of being able to pause and ask yourself, what am I doing this for? How do I actually want to feel? So
So cool. Okay, so we talked at the beginning about how traditionally personal trainers are taught to measure a bunch of things, and that's how we determine if our client's been successful, if we've been successful training our clients, right? We measure how their heart rate changes over time. We measure how much weight they can lift depending on whatever goal they present with, or how much weight was lost. So as a personal trainer now who practices intuitive eating, what measurements, or do you at all focus on measurements with your clients?
yeah, so and it really changes with each person. So we will just kind of decide their goal at like their more long-term goal at the beginning of the season. And for someone, it might be like, I want to commit to something because I feel like that's what I want to strengthen. So I'm going to commit to a 5K race or something like that. So it can sometimes be like, you know, something that feels more externally, um, externally motivated, but it's like, I'm going to set this goal out of who I am. And then, yeah, we can set mileage, we can set those things. Or it can be something, but really the big things that I usually look for is increased motivation. Like, oh, are they feeling more energized by movement, or are they feeling, or is it depleting? Is it giving to them, or is it taking away from them? Are they wanting to do it more, or are they wanting to not, or are they wanting to do it less? And then increase confidence too, of being able to focus less on how they look. So noticing like comments of like, calories and body size and things like that, and more on how they're feeling and it's connecting with their life, and then their increased ability to adapt. So like when something does happen in their life, are they seeing that as feedback, or are they seeing it as failure?
Mm.
Are they seeing it as curiosity, or are they seeing it as just, oh, I failed again? And then are they able to be more creative with that change as well? And then some ways that we can measure that is through journaling. Journaling is a huge one. So yeah, you can have the workout log with a weight, rep, sets thing, but really it's like, okay, well, depending on what that person's goal was, like, okay, how do they feel in the beginning? You write that down. How do they want to feel at the end? And then you can have a scale of like 1 to 4. How did they feel throughout it? How do they feel at the end? And then also embodiment, being able to like ask them like what are the sensations that you're feeling like throughout it. And I think as a personal trainers, we're trained to see that of like, do you feel like this is challenging you enough right now? And we can see if someone is moving their arms super fast in a movement and there's no resistance, it's like, oh well, now they can decide, and they can say, well, I think I need to increase a little bit so that I can feel like that flow. And so being able to see them recognize like, oh, I need to go harder, I need to step it back. And then also, yeah, so then we know that that person is going to be capable enough to go out on their own and say like, oh, I want more challenge, or yeah, I need more rest. So those are just, yeah, so those are just a few things. I think journaling is really like one of the biggest things. And yeah, so journaling, embodiment, and then goal alignment, I would say, are like the top 3 ways that I measure success more.
Yeah, I love that. Right. And talking about like, how's your consistency? How's your motivation? How's your confidence? Like, those are great things to measure because honestly, like, would you agree? Like, when I meet clients for the first time, they might say they want weight loss, but that's what's underneath it. They want to have more energy. They want to have a consistent movement practice and they want to feel confident in their skin.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's what we're taught is, oh,
Mhm.
well, I need to lose weight. Fitness is a way for me to do that. And so our role is to uncover that blanket statement, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, yeah, how can you connect more with your body? And when you have that stronger relationship with yourself, then they can have stronger relationships in their lives. And you can kind of see that progressing in your sessions too, of are they beating themselves up about something of like, oh, I'm not as strong as I was last week? Or are they saying, I don't feel like this is as easy for me today? And be able to notice and like give it those like neutral comments instead of like berating comments, um and then yeah, so just being able to have more like compassion too of like, oh
Mhm.
well, I feel like I was there, but like, oh, my body is keeping me safe because I realized I shouldn't do that. I feel like a little pop when I did that, and so yeah, being able to see that compassion and confidence come through.
And that feeling of interoception, right? Being able to tune in and yeah, being curious, like, hey, I don't feel as strong as I was last week. And rather than judge that and think I'm failing in some way, I wonder what's up with that. I wonder what that means. How do I need to adapt my movement to feel better about this?
Yeah, not like comparing yourself to like where you were in a previous season of life, because like, well,
Mhm.
that's where you were, but that's not where you are now. So like the goal is not to get to this previous self or to this other person's success, but like to be able to connect with, yeah, to connect with where you are and who you are. And that, yeah, that proprioception is like being able to connect with the outer world, and that introspection, or there's a fancier word for that.
Interoception?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I want to say it right. Yeah. Being able to be able to feel like what's actually happening in my body. I feel like we can all get better at that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a journey. Absolutely. So take me through the steps of how you set goals with clients now, because I'm sure it's changed as you've grown and taken on this whole intuitive movement approach. How do you help people set goals?
Yeah. So, well, it's, like whenever you walk into a doctor's visit, it's like, okay, well, why are you here today? How can I help you? And so, being able to ask someone what, a little bit of like, what's your story? And then be able to help them find an appropriate goal. And I have 5 different, so I have like this quiz that I kind of have people go through, and it helps them to land in one of 5 different categories of like, oh, they want to feel more confident, or so I have different like labels on those too. And I don't ever want people to feel like they're labeled, but it does help me to see like what, oh, should I build more strength training and resistance, or do they need more Pilates bar style movements? So there's like increased confidence, increased energy because they just want to be more productive and effective during the day. There's increased or like less stress, so more of a feeling of connectedness and peacefulness in their body. And there's some people who just like love feeling alive, and that's usually like with other people with some type of competitive goal, something that's safe and reasonable. And then there's the person who just wants to have more longevity and wants to nourish their bodies in sustainable ways, like throughout their day. So I kind of see like where they might fit in those categories, and then what they're doing now, how they can add to what they're already doing instead of create something that's completely new, and say, oh, okay, well, like you are doing walking, that's great. So what can we do that can help your bones, and how can we strengthen your bones and your muscles? So being able to have the whole picture of the body, and we'll say, okay, well, there's cardio, there's strength, and so there's different exercises that we can add in instead of into what they're already doing, and then to be able to make it and to fit it into a time and a space in their life, so that it's not just like this, oh, I'm supposed to work out or I'm supposed to do this. It's more of like a supplement to their day, that is weaved in with their life. So for a person who's like maybe on a work deadline, it's like, okay, well, what kind of movements can help you think better and give you more energy for that call or for writing that book or whatever it might be. Like, take that as part of your writing day. Like, you're going to do 5 minutes of lateral multiplanar movements, and that can help, integrate both sides of your brain, that kind of thing. And so it makes them excited, and that not only fits with their life, but that they can do it because it's something that they're already doing, and it's doable. So you have that confidence piece and like autonomy, you can do it, and then you can build onto it easily.
I think those are great steps, right? Because we tend to think of movement as this like separate thing from the rest of our life, right? It's like we have our work life, we have our home life, and then I go to the gym. But I mean, really, the objective behind movement is to make the things that we do in the rest of our life easier and more effective. So I love how you talk about how making movement part of your work day can actually help improve your productivity and efficiency at work, and can actually, just reset your brain, and can be little snippets that fit right in with what you're already doing. It doesn't have to be this big like hour-long thing that you tack on at the end of the day, because who has time for that?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's a great approach. I really love that. Well, as I said at the beginning, I'm always so excited when I can talk to another personal trainer who is adopting this intuitive approach and this non-diet approach. And I think it's so important that we spread this message of this new way, and more, in my opinion, more effective way to work with our clients. So on that note, you are doing something very exciting to help spread the message of intuitive eating, or intuitive movement, rather, I should say, into the personal training world. So tell us what you are up to.
Yeah. So I was able to partner with Fix Now. They are an approved provider they provide CEU courses for those who are certified with ACSM, with AFA, NASM, ACE. I think there's 2 more. And so it's a course called Intuitive Movement, Returning to Natural Body Cues. And so it's helping professionals to understand where we are in the fitness world, how we've come, like what is like the general history of fitness, and how did we get here, and then how can we move into this intuitive movement space, not only in our lives, but how can we help transition our clients from traditional exercise to intuitive movement, and helping it to fit into their lives. So I know the question you asked me before was like, how do you lead people through this? And so I would say like a really easy takeaway is just like start with gratitude of like, what do you have now, and how can you be grateful for your body and what you've already been given, and then how can you follow that joy? So and that to me is joyful movement.
Yeah, Amazing. So then, yeah, you're taking that approach and teaching other trainers how to apply that to their practice too, and giving them the tools to ask these very important questions and get these more intuitive results from their clients.
Right. Yeah. Because I think, we all need different ways to be able to measure success
Mm.
that are not associated with losing weight or looking a certain way, and for us to be able to connect with our bodies. And so I would love for trainers to take that course and to also add on too, like, this is not a fully comprehensive thing. This is just a starting block. So I would love to hear more voices in this area and to connect with each other too. So I'm thankful for this conversation.
Oh yeah, me too. And I'm so thankful you're doing this work. And it's a great opportunity for trainers who are looking to move beyond that traditional framework that we've all been educated under, and just open your mind to a different way to measure success, a different way to work with clients to hopefully improve their motivation and their consistency with movement. So where can people access your course if they do want to take it?
Sure. Yeah, that will be on their website, fitfixnow.com.
Okay.
So that will be strictly there, and then I'm on social media, Kasey B. Shuler, and then I have that quiz, which is more that helps you find out what kind of exerciser you are, and then but then also how that motivation is rooted to a deeper foundation of faith. So it's more integrated with the faith component on my website. Which, do you want me to say that, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Go ahead. And I'll also link it in the show notes so that everybody can just click through. But go ahead and say it out loud. So if somebody's just listening in the car, they can hear it.
Right. Okay. So it's kaseybshuler.com/quiz. So it's KASEYBSHULER.com/quiz. So I know my name's can be spelled a little funky sometimes. So yeah, and I just would really love to connect with people there. So
Yeah, amazing. That's great. And like I say, I will link all those things to the show notes. Kasey's got some amazing resources available to you. So you can access the continuing education course if you are a personal trainer looking to move into a more intuitive way of training. And then she's got resources for clients and stuff on her website too. So thank you for having this really important conversation with me today, Kasey. I'm so excited for the course that you've developed and all of the amazing things that you're up to in your business. Thanks for coming on the show.
yes, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, friends. Well, that's it for today. I hope that interview with Kasey got you thinking about ways that you can be more intuitive with your movement, what it means to listen and respond to your body's cues. As always, I welcome your questions and comments. You can DM me on Instagram or send a message through my website. If you found this episode helpful, I'd love if you'd share it. And I'll see you back here next week with another guest, and we'll be chatting about returning to movement after having babies. So if you're a mom, or even a mom with older kids, because we're all postpartum after all, this one will be for you. Until then, thanks so much for hanging out with me. You can stay in touch by following my social media accounts at Radiant Vitality Wellness, or you can learn more about how to work with me on my website, which is www.radiantvitality.ca. Be well, my friends. Thanks for tuning into the Power in Motion podcast today. If you love what you're learning here, then I invite you to take the next step of embodying these concepts into your own life so that you can live your healthiest, happiest life and never again feel held back by your body. Coaching is the fastest, most efficient pathway to taking what you know in your head to actually applying it and seeing results. Whether you're looking to make changes around movement, food, body image, or all three, I'm here to help you nurture a kind, respectful, and trusting relationship with your body so you can feel your very best. Click the link in the show notes to book a free consultation, and together we'll uncover what's getting in the way of you having the results you want. You'll leave this call knowing exactly what you need to work on, and together we'll explore whether one of my coaching offers is a good fit for you. I can't wait to meet you.